Hi, students. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just kind of walk you through the answers that go with the workbook lessons for this week. And then at the end, I'm going to show you a nice poster that shows the parts of a flower to make it even easier to understand that part, okay? So here we go. So here's the matches again for that first easy page: apple juice, table, t-shirt. Oh, and I forgot to mention this last time. King Solomon, by the way, was the famous botanist in the Old Testament, King Solomon. Then we have the parts of a flower. This, of course, is the flower, the stem, the leaves, the root, and this is a dandelion. At the bottom, you should have had a scientist who studies plants is a botanist. Apple juice comes from a plant or fruit. The study of plants is called botany. On the next page, speaking of carbon dioxide, there's no real answers to post here, but I did add some extra information. So as the plant takes in the carbon dioxide, it also releases some water. And as part of that process, and this was explained nicely here, then the answers on the flip side. Here you go. So matching the words: carbon dioxide, a colorless, odorless gas that people and animals breathe out and plants take in. Chlorophyll, the green coloring in a plant that captures the sun's energy. Oxygen, a colorless, odorless gas that people and animals breathe in and plants release. Photosynthesis, the process green plants use to make food from sunlight, water, carbon dioxide, and chlorophyll. So one interesting thing here is, you notice this, when plants take in our carbon dioxide, they give out oxygen. So the more plants we have around us, the more oxygen we have to breathe. That's really cool, I think. And you can do a quick experiment, putting a leaf in water, putting it underwater. If you just freshly pick it, you'll see oxygen bubbles coming off of it. It's very cool. Next page, the plant cell. And again, just trying to get an understanding on this and such. The cell membrane, by the way, is kind of that section right in the middle here, the lightish green. That's kind of hard to see. The cell wall is the darker green. The matching on this next page, what do we have? The control center of a cell is the nucleus. The tiny green part inside a plant cell is the chloroplast. That's that green material. The stiff layer outside the cell membrane of a plant is the cell wall. The thin covering of a cell just inside of that cell wall is the cell membrane. And the jelly-like material that fills the inside of a plant cell is the cytoplasm. Okay, cytoplasm, interesting. And then finally, the parts of the flower here, and it talks about that: the petals, the ovule, the stamen. Often there might be, more than one of those. The stigma, the style, the ovary, that's all part of the seed-producing part of the flower, and that's known as the pistil, P-I-S-T-I-L, this center part. Again, if you take a flower, you could actually see those parts inside of there as they're described, okay? And then the last page for your work with this week showed the pollinators, and matching 1 to 4 here. What are the steps in pollination? Step 1 is a pollinator flies to a flower to taste its nectar. Step 2, the pollinator brushes against the stamen, and some pollen sticks to its body. Step 3, the pollinator flies to another flower, it brushes against the pistil, and the pollen falls off. Step 4, the pollen, once it hits the pistil, it travels to the ovules in the ovary and a new seed is made. That's the pollination process. This is my giant flower poster, and again, you can see the stamen produces pollen. Those are, there's usually more than a few of those, okay? and they're often shorter than the other part, which is called the pistil. I'm sorry, the cut. Sorry, boys and girls. Looking at this upside down, I got confused. So the pistil is that center part that we described earlier, which helps produce the seeds and such. And then some other parts of the leaf part of the flower, the sepals are protect the bud. So before the flower opens up, it's tightly held together. And then as it opens, those are the parts right down at the bottom of the bud. And the petals, of course, on the flower help attract the pollinators with their lovely colors. So just a little more on that. I love this verse at the bottom. It says, the grass withereth, the flowers fadeth, but the word of our God shall stand forever, from Isaiah 40, verse 8. So the flowers are beautiful, but they're only living for a short time, whereas we can live forever by the love of God. That's a great thought. Take care, boys and girls.